everybody. Can I please introduce the inspiring Terry Gilliam and the special screening of the Imaginarium of Dr Parnassus. This is an extraordinary film and dedicated to some very special people.
The whole experience was so extraordinary. It was amazing. And in the end, the cast all gathered one night and said, what are we going to call this thing? And we said, it's going to be a film from Heath Ledger and friends. Yeah. I was going to make it a co-directing film with Terry Gilliam and Heath Ledger because both live and dead, he managed to direct a lot of this film in a strange way.
69-year-old director Terry Gilliam is famous for two things: his wild imagination and the mounting suspicion that he's been cursed.
No, good luck.
In the Imaginarium of Dr Parnassus, a devil grants Parnassus, played by Christopher Plummer, eternal life, but at a price.
You're probably not a betting man, are you?
It's classic Gilliam, but it will forever be notorious as Heath Ledger's final film.
Can you put a price on your dreams?
Ledger, just 28, died of an accidental prescription drug overdose midway through production. Gilliam shot Ledger's remaining scenes with a trio of replacements: Johnny Depp, Colin Farrell and Jude Law.
What are you doing? Trying to save your daughter's life, sir!
The Hollywood stars helped save his film, but Gilliam makes no bargains with the Hollywood devil. He always does his own thing.
I grew up outside of Hollywood and I couldn't see working my way up through the system, and so I developed a deep dislike for the system.
Gilliam kicked off his career as an animator for the famed Monty Python comedy troupe.
When suddenly, the animator suffered a fatal heart attack.
That madness and that silliness and that anarchism and the lack of authority, sense of authority, these are all important things, so they never leave me. I mean, I think my films have it's been a kind of a path away from Python.
Right! Show!
I like just breaking things open to see what's inside of things.
Time Bandits, a time-travelling fairy tale following dwarves through history, was Gilliam's first post-Python success. Then came Brazil, a futuristic fantasy of a society so hysterical over crime and terrorism, it resorts to absurdly intrusive security measures. Unbelievable.
What are you taking?
That?
Drugs!
What did they give you? Dorsey? Haldol? How much? How much?
His apocalyptic sci-fi 12 Monkeys with Bruce Willis and Brad Pitt remains his most successful film to date.
I'm not saying you're not mentally ill. For all I know, you're crazy as a loon. But that's not why you're here. That's not why you're here. It's not why you're here. You're here because of the system.
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas featured Johnny Depp as gonzo journalist Hunter S. Thompson.
That was headquarters. They want me to...
The gonzo approach is that you don't stand back and objectify things, you leap in. And that's what I do as a filmmaker. Whatever I do, I'm consumed by the project and it takes over my life. And it might destroy it, it might save it. And I will do anything to get it made honestly or the way I think it should be made.
In 1999, Gilliam embarked on The Man Who Killed Don Quixote with Johnny Depp.
I suspect there's a large bunch of lightning and a storm about to hit us.
But a series of calamities doomed the production. A behind-the-scenes documentary popularised the curse of Gilliam.
What were you thinking?
And with the triumph and tragedy behind Dr Parnassus, the bittersweet Terry Gilliam tradition continues.
Voila. Oh, voila.
There was a point in January 2008 where you could have made the decision not to make this film. What kept you going?
I don't know, madness, stupidity, my daughter, my cinematographer, Nicola Pecorini. Most of the people involved in the film said there's no way you're going to walk away from this. I was ready to just give up, obviously, because I couldn't see a way of finishing the film. I thought this is the one the big boy upstairs finally nailed me.
This is exciting. This is fun. There are so many temptations. Maybe just a peek.
I've heard you say this in interviews before, that people have said you've got unlucky with Don Quixote. But you've often countered that and said, well, actually, it's the opposite. I've been incredibly lucky. I mean, what you have done is you have managed to have 4 actors play the one character, something that you didn't set out to do, but you have done.
Once we made the leap that your face could change on the other side of the mirror, you could be part of somebody else's imagination. Boom, we were free, and then it was just a matter of getting 3 A-list movie actors who happened to be free.
Thank you. Who are you, dear?
How difficult was it to buoy people up again, to get them enthused and encouraged to carry on working?
It's very hard. I mean, because literally we finished shooting here in London on a Saturday night. We had a week's prep before everybody had to turn up for shooting in Vancouver. And on the Tuesday, Heath was dead. And we just completely collapsed. Everybody did. And it took, I don't know, it was a few days before there was even the thought that we could actually finish the film. Because, to be honest, this has never happened where a lead actor dies midway through and the film gets finished. And the first person I called was Johnny, because Johnny was a good friend of Heath. And I said, I don't know what we're doing, but can you help? And he says, I'm there. Whatever you want, I'm there. Done. It was like we were on autopilot, to be honest, because it was a good thing, because it's better to be working when you're grieving than not working.
We must concentrate tonight. Everything depends on it.
The trick is to make sure when you're making any film now, make sure there's a magic mirror in it that people can go through and their faces can change. I mean, it wasn't planned. It was so bizarre that Heath had basically completed almost all of his work on this side of the mirror before he died.
Now, maybe it's just things ought to be done a little different around here.
What different sort of way do you suggest?
Sir. Morning. How you doing? How was your sleep last night? You know, I saw you had a nasty bump on your head.
Different? What do you mean?
He had that quality that was incredibly dignified and so funny.
What we saw was just the tip of the iceberg. The potential was endless. There was nothing he couldn't do. I mean, he'd be outrageously funny, he could be silly, he could be tragic, you know, he had weight to him. He never cheated, he never just did things for a cheap laugh. It was all solid.
I believe whatever doesn't kill you simply makes you stranger.
It would have been the best, I think. I keep saying this, but I do believe it.
And what about the mirror? What's that about, eh? A bit of hocus pocus?
Oh, no, mate, you know, Tony, you don't get it, man. It's impossible to describe. It's mystery.
Yeah.
That's one of the great beauties of this film, for me, him and Andrew Garfield.
Oh, he and Andrew were a brilliant team. When we started rehearsals, Heath just went into character as Tony. And poor Andrew was at a loss because Heath was his buddy. They were friends, and suddenly this monster appears, and Andrew just didn't know how to deal with it. What we did, I said, Andrew, your character, Anton, believes in magic. He's sort of a fantasist. So learn to laugh, learn to be magical. And the two of them were just firing. It was brilliant.
Why bother with this little, sideshow act?
It's not a sideshow. You don't want to rule the world. He wants the world to rule itself.
Was there a conscious thing where you have humanity descending into a sort of Greek pre-Christian Warner Brothers?
Yeah, there's a lot of religious nonsense in it's I mean, we tried that in Fear and Loathing with the scene. I don't know if those of you have seen adrenochrome, where there's this drug and Johnny's taking it and going crazy, and Benicio is a pagan. One's a pagan, one's a Christian. So those ideas have always played around. I mean, I find I've always been fascinated by particularly Catholic imagery, and there's always a sense of punishment in the film. And that's, I think, started with Brazil, and the character Jonathan Pryce plays is a privileged character, and yet he's not taking responsibility for his position. And that's always been something that it's probably me whipping myself because of all the things that are wrong with the world that I'm not involved in.
One of my favourite films of yours is 12 Monkeys.
Thank you.
And you plucked a Brad Pitt who was doing quite well. He was doing Legends of the Fall, I think, around that time, but he wasn't as big at that point. You managed to get him at a good time.
No, we got him at the moment just after Legends of the Fall came out, and he rocketed from a nice guy he could go to dinner with and walk around the streets of Philadelphia to a guy who couldn't move outside of his apartment. Girls were threatening to throw themselves out of windows if he appeared. We had to suddenly hire all these security people. It was like a nightmare. The whole shoot became a security operation.
But you didn't pay him as much.
No, I didn't pay him much, no.
Good,
no.
good.
$5,000. $5,000.
$5,000.
We don't pay. We give people chances to show what they're really, how talented they really are.
Which you've done.
And it's best when they work for less money because they feel less like a whore.
So Bruce Willis worked for less money too?
No, Bruce worked for scale. I'd met him before and I liked him, so I came to New York and said, Bruce, if you want to be in this movie, I don't want Bruce Willis superstar on board. I want Bruce Willis the actor. And you've got to come with nothing, no entourage. Basically, you come naked into this thing. And it made such a difference because the day we realized what a difference it made was there was a weekend that he had to go and shoot some extra shots for one of the Die Hard movies. And he came back a completely different man because he was getting paid $20 million and he behaved as one does when you get paid that money. He just became an asshole. That's what you do.
You became a
And he came back, and it took us a couple of days before he came back to our movie and Bruce Willis, the actor.
I can't wait to edit this Q&A. This is going to be great.
I know. Won't that be fun?
I want to stay here this time with you.
Where do you derive your dark humour from? And I must tell you, because my father's an Englishman, and one of the first films he made me watch was The Holy Grail, so I could just get in touch with his spirituality.
Yes, it was a spiritual film, wasn't it? Yeah. I just think the world is a very funny place. And if you aren't able to enjoy just the absurdity of most of life, then you're just going to get old and die young. No, that's that's a theory of mine. It's that death doesn't like laughter. So the more you can find things to laugh at, especially death, the more he stays at bay. I mean, I'm 932 years old. That's the point I'm trying to make.
You are Dr. Parnassus. You really are. Can we thank Dr. Parnassus, or his alter ego, Terry Gilliam, here for joining us on the Fabulous Picture Show. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Forgive me, but I have a couple of solutions to your problems. One, I was thinking of, changing the style of the show. And two, I would change the audience, perhaps.
Change?
Yeah. But in my opinion, I'd change both. But, that's just me, and I'd...
Change the show? Who the friggin' hell do you think you are?
Well, that's the end of the Fabulous Picture Show. You're a bit of a giggler, aren't you?
Giggling is important. That's
very important.
Mike Palin, Terry Jones, and I were the gigglers in the Pythons, and we were normal-sized people. The others were much taller, and they didn't giggle, and we had more fun.
Thank you for making me giggle.
You know what's going to go on my gravestone?
What?
I was going to say Terry Gilliam. He giggled in awe.
Your friend is about to have a life-changing experience.
Yeah, all right.
We've got a customer.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this film and why?
On my personal scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably say that this is a 9.
I think it's the best thing that Gilliam's done.
It's different, it's a really magical experience.
The way in which he uses CGI to transmit what's been going on in his mind, it was really, really refreshing. Brilliant.
Lily Cole was awesome.
Here are the 3 sentences I'd use to recommend this film to my friends. 1, here's your ticket. 2, you owe me a tenner. 3, don't be late.